Let me start out. A good coach always asks questions, right? Yeah. So, what do you want? I mean, what do you really want? I mean, we all want $1 million, but what does that $1 million do for you? What does it buy for you? Does it buy peace? Does it buy time? What does it do? Well, here are some of the things that some people want. I've kind of broke them down into categories: personal, professional, spiritual. Any of these things resonate with anybody in the room? Hands? You see something you'd like to have there? But life gets in the way, doesn't it? There's always something that gets in the way. How about in the professional world, your profits are down, you're facing a job loss, maybe team struggles, maybe family loss, basically no motivation. That all leads to being overwhelmed, procrastination, lots and lots of stress, and basically no margin in your life. You have no time to really think about these things, no time to work on this stuff. Same thing happened to these guys, Terry, Mike, and David. Terry was about to be laid off. Mike, he was in a secure job, but he didn't really feel motivated towards it and was spending time at his church. David was just off a divorce, had teenage kids, and basically just had no motivation. They called me because I'm a coach. Not an athletic coach like one of these guys. Not a vehicle type coach. Not a discipler type coach or a disciple maker. Not a teacher. Not a high-priced expert or a high-priced consultant that flies in and flies out and leaves you hanging, holding the bag. And certainly not a bag, like a coach handbag. So why'd they call me? I'm a life and leadership coach. First thing to know about me is I'm Christian. Okay? That doesn't mean I'm going to preach at you when I'm coaching at you. That just means that I'm coming from a biblical worldview. Okay? One of the most amazing verses to me is this verse in Proverbs that really is a coaching verse. The purpose in a man's heart is like deep water, but a man of understanding will draw it out. So if you've got all these things in your heart and they're in there and they're deep and you can't get to them, go find a coach. Let that coach help you get them out. I'm also professionally trained, fully certified, and uniquely qualified to help people like Terry, Mike, and David, and like you and the people you know. Now, Tom Landry got this one right. A coach is someone who tells you what you don't want to know, what you don't want to hear, who has you see what you don't want to see, so you can be who you have always known you could be. And so in honor of Coach Landry, have to put on the fedora. Basic bottom line of what a coach does is a coach helps you get from where you are to where you're going quicker and easier. So let's talk about Terry. Terry started coaching with me because he was facing a possible job loss. Okay, people all around him was being laid off. He was a manager, but he wasn't getting any support from his boss. So he started looking, and unfortunately, he got laid off before he found a new job. So we coached around all that resume building and role playing and vision casting. What would you like in a new job? And he actually got 2 job offers, had a choice. He could take the one that most closely fit him. And he turned out to be the first employee in this new IT department. He then started working with me as far as selecting and how to bring in new employees. They're up to 4 people and growing. I think the most amazing thing about the difference, I mean, if you can imagine being laid off, no longer being the breadwinner for your family, and now he's in a position where the bosses see that the IT department that he has grown just in the last couple of years, they don't see it as a vendor, as something just part of the company, but they see it as a key business component. So imagine the difference in how he feels between that. Let's talk about Mike Henry Sr. He basically was at a point where he was very secure professionally, okay, but he was just unsure where he was called, okay. He was doing a lot of work in his church, leading Bible studies, things like that. Last summer, I offered a group called the Godly Life Plan, and he took it. He worked through that whole process with the group. He basically he really decided on his direction. He's going to stay working until they basically kick him out, okay? But he's going to put some boundaries. He's going to put more margin in his calendar, and he's going to not work as much and focus more on his long-term goal of being able to help the church. Let's talk about David Smith. This is one of my fun clients. When he came to me, he was overwhelmed. He was in a rut. He'd just been through an awful divorce. He had teenage kids, okay? He was stagnant at work. He had basically no motivation. He had low confidence. I mean, going through a divorce will take anybody's confidence down, right? His ex was, let's just call it uncooperative. Probably some of you can agree with that. And the teenagers were basically staying with him part-time, okay? Now, can you imagine, first of all, dealing with teenagers? Second, dealing with teenagers of divorced parents. And third of all, dealing with teenagers of divorced parents that are going from house to house 1 or 2 times a week. So David came to me, he was eager for a win. And so we worked through it and said, well, okay, what's really getting in your way? And he identified that procrastination was getting in his way. Okay? And we worked through that. Well, why that? Why procrastination? Well, these large tasks, these things are just eating my lunch, I just can't seem to get around. They're like elephants. I just can't deal with them, right? Okay, well, what's your biggest one? Well, I need to do this severance tax exemption for work. Okay, fine. So how do you break that down? How do you chunk it down? How do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time, right? So, all right, how do you chunk it down? So I asked him about this. He had been procrastinating on this particular topic for 3 months. 3 months. He went off, after we coached around it, he finished it up in 2 days. 2 days. Can you believe that? Not only that, a couple of weeks later, he got notification that his exemption had been filed, and the company was going to be getting a check back. Okay. How big a check? $1.3 million. $1.3 million. Now, I wish I could promise this kind of results to all my clients, but I really can't. That's just whatever. Anyway, but that one incident turned his life around. It turned his work career, professional career, his personal career. He started setting boundaries with his ex and with his teenage kids. He started dating again. He lost weight, started dating, and now he's happily married. And that's Ava there with him. So that's kind of my story. I've started building my tribe here, Elizabeth. Okay. How can you help me? Referrals. Anybody like Terry, Mike, or David, especially business people, team leaders, if you just give me their contact information, I'll follow up with them. My gifts to you, on the middle of the table, there's a graph of life assessment. This is just a quick self-assessment that you can take at any time. Gives you an idea of where you are, maybe where you're out of balance. Also, last week I mentioned the Strong Start 2017. I've reserved a series of 10 slots for just free coaching sessions. There's actually down to 5 now. So go on to the link, schedule a slot with me. No charge, no obligation, no pressure sales, anything like that. And the other thing I wanted to mention is the Get Clients Now, which I actually have a copy of here, which will be in the door prizes today. And what that is it's a group that will meet weekly for 6 weeks. It basically lets you systematize your process for following up and really letting you set the priorities. So you co-create this system with me. I walk you through the material, you create it, and then there's 4 weeks of accountability. So built in, get clients now. I have coupons for $100 off today only. So let me finish up with a good coaching question. What do you want? You've heard what some of these guys wanted. You've heard what they got. What do you want? Let me finish up with Romans 11:29. The gifts and calling of your heart are irrevocable. They're in there. Doesn't mean they're going to come out naturally. So if you're having trouble getting them out, find a good coach.